Come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Councilmember Remy, would you lead us in the pledge?
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This afternoon, council is appreciative to have my Morehouse brother, Pastor Rich Johnson of Sanctuary Columbus Church, to pray with us. Pastor, welcome to council.
Thank you.
Let us pray. Spirit of the living God, whose name is greater than any other name because it is beyond all names. You are love, you are life, you are community, and you are justice. We ask your divine blessing and strong favor on the council members who've been called to lead this beloved city of Columbus, Ohio, the place where we live, work, learn, and play. Bless their service to this city and bless their families with your kindness. Give guidance to your appointed leaders today to ask deep questions that lead to lasting and sustainable policies. Guide them to become curious about problems rather than make assumptions for solutions. Guide them to embody empathy for our neighbors rather than place judgment that conceals them and cancels them from fellowship. Remind our officials that the common good of all people is not a loose form of tolerance, but a radical act of embracing our common humanity, one that affirms our desires for mental, relational, financial, and physical well-being. May they decide today, in the words of the great prophet, to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our divine Creator. So give them ears to hear the voice of the people whom they represent. Our prayer is that Columbus become a truly prosperous city in every way for all people, whether they live in a rented apartment or a multi-family home, whether they live in assisted living facilities or under a bridge. May this be a truly prosperous city for everyone, regardless of their religious affiliation, their political ideology, their sexual orientation, or their current national status, for we are all called to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. May this be a truly prosperous city that sees every child grow into a healthy and mature adult who defies the odds of infant mortality, of gun violence, of domestic abuse, of low graduation rates and unemployment. For this is the kind of city to which you are calling us to create, council members and everyday citizens together, building a safe and sacred community for the thriving of all people. Hear our prayer tonight, we do pray, and may it be so in the strong name of the one who is faithful, true, and altogether lovely. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Are there any communications we read into the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. This week's communication received by the City Clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any announcements or resolutions by council members, starting with Councilmember Bankston?
Thank you, President Harden. Just one announcement that I wanted to shed a little light on tonight that's on the consent agenda. We have 3 ordinance appropriating funds to be awardees of our first ever faith-based and community organization grant initiative. So really excited about the work that my office has put in. We received 29 total applications with a total request amount of over $600,000. And we were able to award 14 organizations with a total amounts varying of $250,000 allocation, which I set forth as my budget amendment earlier this year. These dollars will reach 12 unique zip codes, reaching all across our city with multiple programs in South Linden, Milo Grogan, King Lincoln and Bronzeville, Old Town East, and East Columbus, just to name a few. I would like to take this time just to thank everyone who applied for taking the time out to share with us the incredible work that you will do and that you plan to do in our community for those, both youth and of our families. Now, I would also like to specifically thank the folks here at City Council that made this process very smooth, very transparent, and efficient. Ms. Kirsten Estosi in our Legislative Research Office, Josh Davis in our City Clerk's Office, Mr. Stanley Gates, Director of our Community Relations team, in my office, J.P. Dorval, my aide, Chris Maitland on our Legislative Research Office, and also Harrison Poku on the Community Outreach team. I want to thank them again for their efforts, for judging, scoring all of the applications, going through and reading all of those, and coming out with these great determinations. And lastly, I just want to thank my council colleagues, and particularly Council President, for supporting my office in this effort, and look forward to the positive impact that will come. I know that we are set to make a huge announcement in conjunction with the administration around summer and what we're investing in to make sure that we're keeping our youth safe. But this is just one way to ensure that our faith-based and our grassroots organizations also have a bite at the apple, because they are reaching a niche in our community and have a skill set that is so unique to the communities that they serve. So really proud of the work that my office has done and looking forward to the work that will be done this summer. So thank you, Council President. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate your leadership. Councilmember Barosa de Padilla.
Thank you, Council President. I'm excited that this Friday we will be celebrating National Bike to Work Day. So as we continue as a city to increase safety, especially for our most vulnerable road users, those are our pedestrians and cyclists, on Friday we will be highlighting the opportunities that we have to use some of the safety measures we've put in place, and then also some of the amazing trails that we have all around the city to encourage people to ride their bikes to work. And so I'm proud to be the vice chair of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission's Policy Roundtable, and in conjunction with MORPC, we'll be hosting 2 events to celebrate National Bike to Work Day on Friday. So folks can check out their website at morpc.org/event/bike to work day. I know that some of my fellow council members will be joining me on a ride downtown biking together. In addition to that, throughout the month, we will be giving other updates on how we are continuing to make the city safer, again, for our pedestrians, for our cyclists. Even today, we have some exciting news about some roadway changes that we're making downtown that is all in conjunction with our Vision Zero plans for the city. So lots of exciting stuff. I hope folks will join us on Friday to bike together to work. Thank you.
I look forward to biking to work with you on Friday morning. Councilmember Brown. Yes, sir. Councilmember Dorrance.
Thank you, Council President. At this time, I want to invite Major Tricia Brennan from the Salvation Army to the podium as I introduce Resolution 0098-2023 to celebrate National Salvation Army Week, which is this week, May 15th through the 21st, and thank staff and volunteers for the community service. The Salvation Army is well known for their iconic red kettles and bells during the holiday season, but their local impact is not limited just to the winter months. as the organization provides services 365 days a year, and in recognition of the fact that need needs no season. And certainly over the last 3 years, we've certainly seen a lot of need in our community, and certainly the Salvation Army has stepped up over and over again. The Central Ohio unit of the Salvation Army is especially active, with volunteers dedicating more than 17,000 hours in service last year to the residents of Columbus, Franklin, and Delaware counties. In 2022, they served more than 329,000 meals, provided 120,000 nights of lodging to people experiencing homeless, and served over 1,200 survivors of human trafficking. Additionally, they provided after-school learning programs to more than 30,000 students across our region. The City of Columbus is certainly grateful for their efforts, the Salvation Army in Central Ohio, and joins in celebrating the hardworking volunteers and staff who dedicated their time and effort in service to others here in the community. With that, I'd like to pause and allow Major Tricia Brennan to tell us a little bit more about the Salvation Army here in Central Ohio and what they do. Major?
Thank you. President Hardin, President Pro Tem Dorans, members of council, on behalf of all the employees and volunteers of the Salvation Army in Central Ohio, we are grateful for your recognition of our work and mission during National Salvation Army Week. It is our mission to provide help and hope to our neighbors throughout Columbus and Franklin County every day throughout the year, because indeed, need knows no season. As all of you know, the need of so many of our neighbors continues to be great. So many continue to experience poverty, and many are experiencing what we refer to as the pandemic poverty, still not having recovered from the economic fallout of the coronavirus pandemic. We continue to receive increased requests for assistance for food, for shelter, for safe and affordable housing, for utility and rental assistance, for quality after-school care, and for learning opportunities, and much more. We are honored to partner with so many individuals, businesses, and organizations in Central Ohio, including the City Council, to provide for these basic needs of so many in our community. Your willingness to recognize our work during this National Salvation Army Week is so important for so many reasons, but I'd like to mention just 3. First, it recognizes the tremendous commitment of our over 49 dedicated employees who work tirelessly to address the short and long-term needs of our neighbors. Secondly, it shines a light on the hundreds of volunteers who last year donated more than 17,000 hours of service to our organization and the people we serve. We could not implement our mission without them. And third, most everyone knows the Salvation Army because of our red kettles during Christmas time and the ringing of the bells. This is an incredibly important part of what we do and how many programs we fund with the services we provide in Central Ohio. But by City Council considering this resolution this evening, it helps us raise awareness that the work goes beyond the bells to serve those who need help 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Because indeed, need knows no season. Thank you to each and every member of council for all that you do for each and every person and family here in Central Ohio.
Thank you, Major. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments about the resolution? Seeing that we talked about need knows no season, but also service doesn't either. And over the last, I think, 3+ years, we've seen how often many of our social services agencies have stepped up to do more and more and more and more. And just want to say thanks to you, the staff and volunteers, for heeding that call with the Salvation Army. So if there's no other comments, I'd like to move for adoption.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. That's all I have.
Thanks, President Tim. Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight I have 2 announcements and 2 resolutions to present. As Chair of the Housing Committee, I'm excited to announce a hearing we will be hosting tomorrow to discuss the proposed pay-to-stay and third-party payment legislation we are pursuing as a part of City Council's 2023 housing initiatives. This hearing will take place tomorrow, May 16th at 5 p.m. here in Council Chambers. As we know all too well, Columbus is facing an affordable housing crisis, one that will only worsen as our population continues to grow. The City of Columbus takes this problem seriously, and earlier in March, this council unveiled our council housing initiatives, a suite of 12 policy proposals to invest in and preserve our housing stock in a manner inclusive of all people, regardless of their identities or backgrounds. For more information on the 2023 council housing initiatives, please visit www.columbus.gov/2023 housing initiatives. This month is also Mental Health Awareness Month. Since 1949, during May, we observe Mental Health Awareness Month, a time for us to advocate for heightened awareness about mental health issues society faces. This year's theme is More Than Enough. This theme signifies the idea that each and every one of us has an inherent value, that we are not defined by our identities, that we are worthy of more than enough life, love, and healing. While the stigma surrounding mental health issues has begun to dissipate in recent years, it still remains and is a leading reason why many do not seek help, though they might need it. The lack of understanding of mental health conditions and their ramifications has helped lead to the stigmatization of mental health. This lack of understanding and resulting stigmatization can result in adverse health implications for those struggling with mental illness, and can lead to discrimination against those dealing with a mental health condition. It is our responsibility to become informed about the importance of maintaining a good mental well-being so that we can fight the stigma against mental health. This is a whole community effort, one that requires each of us to educate ourselves and others, but also uplift those who are struggling with these conditions. With that, I'd like to call on Director Brandon to discuss some of the resources the city offers regarding mental health.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Good evening, President Hardin, Chair Favor, and members of council. I am happy to discuss the services and programs the City of Columbus offers employees and their covered dependents as it relates to mental health and emotional well-being. The City of Columbus we offer employees EAP. That is a program that's out of our Columbus Public Health Department. EAP provides comprehensive counseling, consultation, coaching, and serves as an information resource. If employees want to contact EAP, their number is 645-6894. The city also offers a wellness center, and this is specifically to address the needs of our first responders. The center offers services related to the needs of first responders and serves as an advocate to get any external services they may require quickly. The city also offers resources through our health plan with United Healthcare. The Able2 app provides on-demand access to self-help for stress and emotional well-being, self-care techniques, coping tools, and meditations. Tools are created specifically for you, and they're based on responses to an assessment that you give. That is a free service that's provided under the plan. Online therapy is another option with Talkspace. Employees can message a licensed therapist 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can choose real-time, face-to-face video visits by appointment when needed, or you can access Talkspace Psychiatry to schedule live video sessions with a psychiatrist trained in mental health care and prescription management for a tailored treatment plan. Another service, Live and Work Well, is provided again under our plan, and it provides benefits that include connections with a therapist, assistance in your search for an in-network behavioral health provider, and it helps you learn more about ways that you can help family members, which a lot of people deal with stress as they're caring for family members as well. Finally, I want to remind all employees that the city has 2 health engagement nurses on site, Wendy Karcher and Whitney Smith. The nurses have been making their rounds with departments and meeting with employees, just trying to normalize discussions about physical health and mental health. This month, the nurses are focusing on mental health. They have a comprehensive presentation that walks employees through not only the resources that I've shared through UHC, but also signs of mental health changes, myths around mental health, reasons to seek support, and personal habits you can begin to use to support your own emotional well-being. So if departments or individual employees are interested and would like to speak with one of the nurses, they can be reached at 645-NURSE. That's 645-6877. So I really do want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to shed some light on the services that the city provides to our employees. And there is a focus here, what you can tell, on apps or virtual service, because we find that employees are more apt to do that in the privacy of their own home, as opposed to going into office. And those services are available too, but we really do appreciate United Healthcare, taking advantage of the fact that employees prefer some sort of privacy, and the virtual options are there for them.
If we're part of eliminating the stigma means that we have to meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. And so apps and virtual spaces help to create that level of comfortability that many of us need in order to get the treatment that we may need. So thank you, Director Brandon, for laying those out for us this evening. Next, it is my honor, this segues pretty perfectly into the first resolution we have this evening, Resolution 0093X-2023, to designate May 15th through 19th as Trauma-Informed Awareness Week in the City of Columbus and recognize the work of Columbus Care Coalition. I'd like to invite the Care Coalition team, as well as any of our honored guests who would like to be here up at the front today. Trauma-informed care is an approach that can bring greater understanding and more effective ways to prevent, identify, support, and service children, adults, families, and communities affected by adverse childhood experiences, trauma, adversity, and toxic stress. Trauma-informed care is not a therapy or an intervention, but a principle-based cultural change process aimed at recognizing strengths and resiliency as a way of helping people who have experienced trauma to overcome those issues in order to lead healthy and positive lives. We know the importance of mental health has become even more pronounced during the COVID-19 pandemic, which has not only negatively impacted many people's mental health, but has also created barriers to treatment. The Columbus Care Coalition provides hope and healing to individuals, families, and neighbors experiencing trauma through various workshops focused on trauma training, racial trauma, and networking by offering support in communities following a traumatic event, including canvassing neighborhoods post-homicide in Linden, Southside, and Hilltop. I want to thank the CARE team coalition for the work that you do. And with that, I'd like to invite Marion Stuckey with the CARE Coalition and Stephanie Starks, owner of Starks Counseling and lead clinician working with the families, to speak.
Thank you. Chair Favors, Council President Hardin, and council members. Please accept our sincere gratitude and appreciation for the designation of this week as Trauma-Informed Awareness Week. As the Columbus Care Coalition, we set this week aside to come together to uplift resilience, healing, and learning. What is very clear is that the more we can increase awareness and understanding of trauma, the more we can all respond with empathy, kindness, and shifting from asking what's wrong with someone to what happened to them instead. Next, we can all take a step further by asking, what did this person do to survive? In many instances, the experience of trauma is one that feels like life or death. Trauma can be defined as a situation that overwhelms a person's ability to cope and initiates a body-based response that is involuntary and can't be controlled. Sometimes it can be chronic in nature, and we define that as toxic stress. Trauma shows up in many ways, and if not addressed, can have devastating impacts on individuals, families, and communities. During this week, we seek to create more understanding of not only trauma, but also uplifting the importance of connection, relationships, and building resilience, because trauma is not the end of the story. A complete list of Trauma-Informed Awareness Week activities can be found at www.columbus.gov/care. It is now my honor to welcome two colleagues and valuable partners to the CARE Coalition, Bridget with OSU's Trauma Recovery Center, and Stephanie Starks, owner of Starks Counseling and Consulting.
Thank you, Marion. Hello, thank you. This week is full of activities that are centered on those connections and relationships that we're hardwired for and ultimately serve as a buffer for trauma and hard times. Our theme this year is planting seeds of connection. This week gives us a moment to reflect on the resilience and positivity that are part of communities and neighborhoods every single day, and allow us to share a different narrative. As a part of Trauma Informed Awareness Week, the CARE Coalition, with various partners, will host many events in priority neighborhoods and have various opportunities to learn about trauma and resiliency. Our goals will be to directly engage residents in neighborhoods experiencing trauma, to increase awareness of research resilience factors, which include affiliation, agency, self-esteem, external supports, and safe, healthy others. This is an effort to continue to illustrate that people, not violence, represents and defines a community. This week, we will also host a variety of learning opportunities and an awards ceremony to honor those who work tirelessly every day. We appreciate your leadership and recognition of not only trauma's impact, but that hope and healing are possible. Thank you.
Good evening. As a mental health professional in private practice and a small minority business owner, I have been partnering with the Columbus Care Coalition to offer individual and group therapy for families after a violent loss. I'm pleased to offer this service for families who've experienced unthinkable pain and loss. This is sacred work. Grief is not a linear, direct process, but takes time and has many twists and turns. Starks Counseling also offers a monthly traumatic grief support group. We're actually meeting tonight at 6, so we'll be leaving here pretty quickly. The families I serve are all on their own unique healing journey, and it has been an honor to hold space for them throughout this process of creating a new normal where the pain of loss never goes away, but we develop the ability to experience life again together. Families are offered a variety of ways to process grief to fit their needs, including art therapy, using creativity and colors to express themselves. Pieces of art are displayed to my right, as well as in the hallway and outside the doors, and they tell each a story of what it looks like not only to grieve, but to heal. Again, thank you all for this opportunity for myself and the families to share our experience.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues at this time? We had the honor of hosting a small reception for the CARE Coalition and our honored guests before the meeting started this evening. And it served as a reminder of a greater conversation that we're having, not only in the city of Columbus, but across this country, about how we have failed as it relates to this gun violence epidemic. And gun violence is not the only form of trauma that you all are grappling with every day. But I heard a testimony that pierced my heart. And oftentimes when we hear of gun violence, we have become so desensitized that we hear it, we do prayers and thoughts, and we move on to the next. And before we can move on to the next, there's another scenario that we're offering prayers and thoughts to. And so this was a moment for us to pause and to see the face of what happens on the other side of gun violence, what happens when the thoughts and prayers stop coming, when we've moved on to the next. And I have so much faith and hope in this new generation of young leaders who call it like they see it. And if our young folks can continue to demonstrate bravery, then it is incumbent upon us to always say the hard thing. to always do the hard thing. That even the work that we do, whether or not we are preempted by the State House, that it is still worth it. That it is still a worthwhile endeavor for us to keep fighting for every single resident in our community to live a safe and trauma-less filled life. I want to thank each and every one of you for sharing your story this afternoon, because you didn't have to do it. And Council President said something that was spot on, that you've been asked, each of you, to carry burdens that we wouldn't wish on our worst enemies. And yet and still, young and old, you stand here before us, reminding us that we must act with a sense of urgency. And so I want to just thank you all, those standing in front of us and those watching us on the screen, that it is organizations and efforts like the CARE Coalition that are helping to rebuild families after the unthinkable happens. So thank you for choosing bravery. Thank you for sharing your story. I wholeheartedly believe that you all are going to change the world. With that, I would move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
And last but certainly not least, Ordinance 0094X-2023, to celebrate the 2023 Komen Columbus Race for the Cure being held on May 20th and recognize the work of the Susan G. Komen Foundation. The Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure series is the world's largest, most successful fundraising and educational event for breast cancer, including more than 140 events on 4 continents, with over 1 million participants coming together every year to take part in the fight against breast cancer. The Komen Columbus Race for the Cure was established in 1993 and has grown from 875 participants to more than 20,000 walkers and runners, making it the largest Komen Race for the Cure in the United States. This year's Columbus Race for the Cure will take place on Saturday, May 20th, with the money raised that will be used to support local breast health programs in Columbus's 30-county service area, including education, breast health screening, and treatment. Funds will also be used to support global research to find cures for breast cancer. And the fundraising goal for this year is $1 million. All of the monies will be used to continue the advocacy and research efforts of the Susan G. Komen Foundation. We encourage everyone to register and fundraise for the Komen Race for the Cure so that one day we can celebrate finding cures for breast cancer. With that, I am incredibly excited to invite Race Director Alyssa Petrella to the podium to share just a few remarks.
Thank you, Councilmember Favor. Thank you, Council President Harden, and all members of the council for having me here tonight and honoring this really special event in Columbus. This is our 31st year celebrating here in Columbus with the Race for the Cure, and over $31 million that have been invested by this community in breakthroughs, patient care services, and events that are saving lives every day. As 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in our lifetime, and we're expecting to lose 43,000 lives to the disease this year. It's more prevalent and important than ever to continue fundraising and supporting the mission of Susan G. Komen. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Well, I know somebody to the left of me often runs and races every now and then. You running this one? No?
You trying to make me?
Kind of. We're trying to raise $1 million is what we're trying to do. No, with that being said, I definitely move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
You know, they say peer pressure is a good, a good way to get moving. That's all for me, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. I have one resolution this evening. I'd like to invite Executive Vice President Brian Steele from FOP 9 and First Assistant Chief LaShawna Potts to the podium as I introduce Resolution 100X, and anybody else that might like to join, of course, as I introduce Resolution 100X 2023 to recognize and designate May 15th, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Columbus, Ohio. In honor of our fallen men and women in uniform, Columbus comes together to designate May 15, 2023 as Peace Officer Memorial Day. In 1962, U.S. President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day and the calendar week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. Every day, over 1,800 officers in the city of Columbus working for the Columbus Division of Police face the challenge of keeping every Columbus neighborhood safe and protected with bravery and honor. Here at Columbus City Council, we recognize the value, accomplishments, sacrifices, and selfless contributions of law enforcement officers and express our gratitude to all members of the Columbus Division of Police for their outstanding contributions to the safety and well-being of the residents of Columbus, Ohio. Thank you, Executive Vice President Steele and First Assistant Chief Potts, for bringing this important discussion to Council. The floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden, Safety Chair Remy, and this honorable board for honoring the 57 men and women whose names are etched in stone in our memorial and the National Wall in Washington, D.C. They gave their life so that others can live. Their sacrifice is a testament to the dangers faced by officers not only in Columbus, but around this country. But it also speaks to their bravery. I am honored to accept this resolution on behalf of Chief Bryant and the dedicated men and women of this division. Service, fearlessness, determination, bravery, commitment, reliability, strength, heroism. These words describe the men and women you see standing to my left and my right. We shall never forget the sacrifice that those that came before them and those that will come after them have made. Thank you.
Good evening, Council President Harden, President Pro Tem, Safety Chair Remy, members of Council. I'm Sergeant Brian Steele. I have the privilege of being Executive Vice President for the Fraternal Order Police. I represent 4,300 men and women of Central Ohio law enforcement, including my brothers and sisters of the Division of Police. The public must be reminded that the police officer, like the soldier, bares his breast to the bullets of the enemy. The soldiers fight for their country or conquest. The police officer fights to protect the homes of the taxpayer. A wife mourns a husband gone forever. Children recall with sorrow a father who will gather them in her arms no more, while brother officers with affectionate regret remember who will not keep in step with them. That's a passage from a book I keep on my desk. It's a history of the Columbus Police from 1908. While many things have changed since then, some changed, things have not. Today, just like in 1908, our officers pin on a badge, 35 pounds of equipment. They put the weight on the world to their shoulders as they kiss their family goodbye. They go on a shift not knowing if they're going to return. They know that every action they make, at times, will only split second to make a decision. They know will be scrutinized, criticized, at times Monday morning quarterbacked. They know they'll witness horrific acts of violence, acts of tragedy, and they will carry these acts with them to their end of days. Fits in pretty well with Trauma Enforced Awareness Week, I'll say that. They know, like the 23,875 law enforcement officers in this country who have fallen, including the 57 CPD officers that the chief named. They know they may not return, yet these amazing men and women of Columbia Division of Police, amazing men and women of courage and character, they show up every day anyway. They show up even though the violence against America peace officers is at all-time high. This year alone, 135 officers were shot in this country, 15 killed by gunfire. Of the 43 shot, 38 were ambush-style attacks. The officers were attacked and shot simply for the uniform they wear. Our city, unfortunately, is no exception. In the last couple months, we've had 4 officers attacked by gunfire. Yet these brave men and women, they show up for their community, they show up for those in need, they show up in the cause of public safety. On behalf of the officers that stand before you, thank you so much for this resolution. Thank you so much for recognizing May 15th as Peace Officer Memorial Day, and thank you for remembering their sacrifice.
Thank you very much, Sergeant Steele and First Assistant Chief Potts. I know last month we were down at the corner of Refugee in Hamilton recognizing and dedicating a sign for Lieutenant Claypool, who died in 2001. I personally was at Steve Smith's funeral as a community leader and will never forget, you know, both of those were people that were just doing their job every, you know, as they would, and were, you know, senselessly killed. And of course, there's many more. There's 55 others that have been killed in the line of duty in the city, and many more across the country. So we appreciate the opportunity to honor this important day. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments this evening?
Chair Remy?
Yes.
I just want to thank you for bringing this resolution forward, and you know, to the 57 officers that have given their lives. It is important that we pause and that we remember. And to Sergeant Steele, your comments that it's important that things have changed, but some things have not. It's a very dangerous job, and we have officers going out every day and doing it admirably. But then for the officers that stand here in front of us and all the officers that continue to serve this city, is what I say at every graduation, how I end every police graduation and fire graduation, that I pray that God puts a hedge of protection around you so that you return home to your family just like you left at the beginning of your shift. And that is on behalf of not just my colleagues on council, it's on behalf of this entire city. And we mean that from the depths of our heart, that we pray for your safety each and every day so that you can go out and keep us safe. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Faber.
You know, Mr. Steele, you hit the nail on the head. This is a perfect segue as we highlight Trauma-Informed Awareness Week, and oftentimes we disregard the trauma that many of our officers experience after the fact, as they are part of our first responders that are on the scene and often have to react very quickly, that there's trauma that they are also having to grapple with. And so I'm incredibly grateful that Director Brandon laid out for our community that we have resources available for every City of Columbus resident. That includes our officers that are putting their lives on the line every single day. I just want to say thank you for the work that you do protecting our communities, our residents every day.
And last week we had 2 different press conferences, both involving folks shooting at police. One where you know, our officers were forced to respond and shoot back, and you know, thinking about the trauma that, you know, even shooting a gun causes. And then the other one with drag racing, you know, the restraint of not firing into a crowd even though they were being fired at. So again, we thank you all for the work that you do every single day protecting us. And I do want to mention that on consent agenda today, we also have a resolution to recognize Light Ohio Blue Week. And if you drive through downtown Columbus this week, you will see City Hall lit blue to show our appreciation for fallen officers. And of course, there'll be a caravan on Wednesday evening. If there are no further questions, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you, council members. I have the distinct honor of recognizing and bringing up, could all the members of the Thursday Noonday Luncheon Club come forward? Tonight I have Resolution 0090X 2023. It's to recognize the Thursday Noon Luncheon Club and congratulate it on its 80th anniversary. If members of the Thursday Club so I know that members of council all know the Thursday Noon Luncheon Club, but I thought it was really important that we celebrate this in front of the community to remind folks the importance of this organization. For 80 years, Black folks on the east side of Columbus have met together to talk about the most pressing issues of our community. They have brought in politicians, they have brought in business people, they have brought in folks from the media, and they created a safe space, but also a platform to have the conversations that have shaped our community. A lot of times it has happened in the back room at the Eldon LCY. And then you've seen the impacts in the community, but you may not have known where the impetus or where the conversation actually started. It started over on the east side with a group of Black folks who cared about their community. And again, they've been meeting for 80 years, bringing folks to that side of town to make them answer for, speak up against, advocate for folks that look like me. And so for that, on behalf of a grateful city, we say congratulations for 80 years of service to this community. These are our elders, our leaders in our community. And I've been grateful to be mentored by many to all of them. And so I thought it would not be robbery to have them come downtown and remind us young folks about what it has been, what the Thursday Noonday Club has meant to our city all these 80 years. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tom Dillard.
Thank you, President Hardin and members of City Council. You know us, right? We're the Thursday Club, right? And we've met with you and had great discussions with you, and you've helped us, and we hope we've helped you in terms of being able to shape the kind of policies and actions for this city. The 80 years we've been in business. And so today I speak for all of those people 80 years ago who aren't with us today, but we're here to represent them. And so in that sense, we're pleased that you've invited us to this occasion. Because I think if Mr. King corrects me, or Mr. Alls corrects me, I think it's the first time we've gotten a recognition from the city of Columbus. Is that right, Mr. Roberts? And so for that, President Hard, we are especially grateful. Now, if you'll give me a minute, I'm going to have Mr. King, Leonard King, give us a brief history of the club. I think this is important to do for y'all to know that in terms of what's going on. Mr. King?
Thank you, Mr. Dillard. Council members, I'm going to try to make it brief. Club started in 1943, Old Spring Street YMCA, and as usual, broke away from another club. First director, first chairman was Claude Willis. Nelson Newsom ran the YMCA. And as Shannon said, we have great, and I don't like to start mentioning names because I have to throw out Ben Espy, Judge Duncan, a lot of folks that made a difference in this club, in this city were members. A lot of ideas, a lot of things that changed in this club came out of members that were sitting at the table of the Thursday Club, but they weren't the ones that came out to make the noise about the club, but a lot of things came out of the people that came up in here. Matter of fact, we got some members sitting around here that are members of the Thursday Club, but I just get tickled pink, but I'm gonna turn this back over to Mr. Dillard because there's so much history running in here that you can't say it all at one time, but yeah. Thursday Club has been very, very valuable, from the busing situation all the way up to the jailhouse here in the city of Columbus. I've been there 47 years. He's been there 47 and a half, Mr. Potts. So, and neither one of us could speak before we came to the Thursday Club, but now we can't shut up. So I'll turn this back over to Mr. Dillard, our General Chairman.
Thank you. Just in case, to go through it, I wanted to make sure we understand who the people are here today. Some of them you may be looking for. So they're here. First, Mr. Lawrence Halls, right?
Yes.
Rodney Burke, Mr. Mike Roberts, the Mr. Nathaniel Jordan, from the Jordan, Lamel, mostly. There you go. We have, of course, Mr. Leonard King, the Sue Cooper. If you want to get anything done, ask Sue, and of course, the inevitable Mr. Attorney Potts. We thank you for the award and for the recognition, and we look forward, really, Mr. Brown, working with you guys again. We got an exciting year coming up. There's a lot of challenges in this city, and we're prepared to shoulder that responsibility with you. So when you're ready, we're ready, and you can all come out and have lunch, and Mr. King will pick up your tab.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dillard, and I'm see if any of my colleagues have anything to say. But when I tell you the kind of things that they work on, the last time I was out there, well, not just this past week, because we this year's honoree also is Mr. Connie Boykin, that we're recognizing from the Thursday Club. But the last time I was out there a few weeks ago, the thing that really the club was holding the city accountable for was how we were treating the residents from the old Sawyer Towers or Latitude 225. And so it's those type of issues that this group calls to the table, elected leaders, business leaders, community leaders, and not just demands action, but says that they will partner with us to get things done. So just really grateful for that work. Anything from my colleagues? Sure.
So I had the good fortune to be out there a couple weeks ago. Thank you so much for that invitation. We know that it's always a tough conversation, but it's a real conversation. And appreciate keeping it on point. No straying. Ask your question. We keep it going. But really, it's a conversation about everything that's happening in Columbus, not just your neighborhood. And so, it's a great history lesson to come out and listen to all y'all talk and learn more. But I certainly appreciate all of you all for what you do at Thursday Club, and look forward to the next one. And by the way, the food is phenomenal. So who you've got catering right now is excellent. So, thank you so much.
Councilman.
So I have also faced the firing squad, also known as the Thursday Club, a few times. I'm joking, but I'm serious at the same time. No, it's an incredible group of folks who are committed to moving the community forward and holding those tasked with doing that work responsible, accountable. And we recognize that there are not, everyone can't participate in an area commission or a civic association, that whatever your gathering group might be, it's going to look a little bit different regardless of what community you're going to venture into. This happens to be the one that's on the Near East Side. It continues to refresh itself by inviting new folks into the fold, or, firing squad, whatever works for you. And you get to learn the history of the community that you live in, or that you're working on behalf of. And so I thank you all for your candor. I thank you for holding us accountable here at City Hall about what we say we're going to do, and when we're going to do it. So with that, congratulations to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say really quickly, when we talk about engaged citizenry, this is it, right? And unfortunately, in 2023, we don't have enough of that, whether it's Columbus, Ohio, the state of Ohio, the nation. And it is so incredible to talk about the legacy, and that is still happening today with you all. So thanks for doing this, and thanks for being an example for folks all across Columbus of what does an engaged citizenry look like. Because in 2023, sometimes it's getting too hard to have some of these conversations, and you all are a demonstration of, that firing squad. When I've been there, it's still Midwestern politeness, but you're going to ask your question, you're going to get your answer. And too often we're too afraid of having some of those hard conversations in front of folks. And you all are a great example of how we can talk about this as a community and actually get results rather than just disagreeing with one another and pointing the blame at somebody else. So thanks for the opportunity to have been out before and looking forward to being out again. So thanks for what you have done and the history of what engaged citizens can do in Columbus.
With that, is there a motion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Know that we are with you. The city has challenges, but you can count on the Thursday Club. We won't cut and run. We'll discuss the issues. We'll hammer it out till we get a solution. You can count on us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments from elected officials? Seeing none, are there any requests by members of council for the removal of an ordinance from tonight's agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive reading of titles of 30-day legislation by the city clerk? Is there a second? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
Small and Minority Business Committee, Ordinance 1338, 1362-2023. Technology Committee, Ordinances 1215 and 1301-2023. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Ordinances 1170, 1224, 1276-2023. Recreation and Parks Committee, Ordinances 1118 and 1211-2023. Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 725, 906, 924, 1171, 1175, 1176, 1183, 1190, 1270, 1272, and 1339-2023. Housing Committee, Ordinances 1236, 1249, 1274-2023. Health and Human Services Committee, Ordinances 1225 and 1229-2023. Public Safety Committee, Ordinance 1188-2023. Administration Committee, Ordinance 1313-2023. Finance Committee, Resolution 77X-2023. And Ordinances 1248, 1269, and 1363-2023. Zoning Committee, Ordinances 1378, 2882-2021, and 1402-2023.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I don't see any speakers on the first reading portion of the agenda, so the following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those numbers into the record?
Resolutions of expression 95X, 96X, 97X, 99X, 91X, 92X, and 101X-2023. Economic Development Committee, Ordinance 1294-2023. Small and Minority Business Committee, Ordinance 1423-2023. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Ordinances 1126, 1235, 1237-2023. Neighborhoods and Immigrant, Refugee, and Migrant Affairs Committee, Ordinances 1051, 1281, 1311, 1347, 1382, 1383, 1384, 1400, 1410-2023. Recreation and Parks Committee, Ordinance 756, 1122, and 1123-2023. Education Committee, Ordinance 1391-2023. Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 1060, 1062, 1089, 1159, 1230, 1250, 1300-2023. Building and Zoning Policy Committee, Ordinance 1390-2023. Housing Committee, Ordinances 981, 1155, 1251, 1283-2023. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, Ordinances 783 and 1261-2023. Health and Human Services Committee, Ordinances 1069, 1231, 1239, 1271, 1299-2023. Public Safety Committee, Ordinances 1194, 1202, 1279, 1335, 1488, 1330-2023, Environment Committee, Ordinance 1330-2023, Finance Committee, Ordinances 1177, 1191, 1204, 1278-2023, and appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0, 117, 130, 131, and 132-2023.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have two speakers on the consent portion of the agenda. First speaker to come before council is Sarah Hughes-Sketter. Sarah is here to speak, looks like in support of resolution of expression, page 9. Sarah, welcome to council.
Thank you, President Hardin and City Council members. On behalf of the BREAD organization, I want to thank you so much for your diligent, consistent service on behalf of our city throughout the tumult of this pandemic. We are so glad that you're also recognizing the work of the Columbus Realtors for their investment in Franklinton Rising and the Vista Village, which are some affordable housing. This recognition highlights the fact that this is a community crisis, that we are all in this together with regard to affordable housing. I am a social worker who on a daily basis works with families who have just been evicted and are struggling to find housing. These are not just single-family units who can go stay with a relative. Most of the households that I encounter are already doubled up and the entire family is being put out, struggling to find something. In such a tight rental market, any investment in affordable housing, such as the investment that the Columbus Realtors have made, is crucial and is welcome because it expands the options available. Our city can support and leverage such good work through additional measures, such as some of those that Councilwoman Favor is going to be talking about tomorrow, as well as allocating more American Rescue Plan dollars towards the preservation and creation of affordable housing for those making $30,000 per year and less. Having housing built is not enough. We need community-based systemic solutions that provide access and that allow for tenants to have some leverage and some power instead of only landlords. An equitable recovery with long-lasting impact will require investment in retaining and expanding our affordable housing stock, such as that the Realtors contributed to, a more proactive approach to rental assistance, and accountability, including access to legal help before an eviction has been filed. Here are some of the things that BREAD organization asks to support and uplift and maximize the impact of the vital work that you all are doing and that the Columbus Realtors are doing. Please consider allocating more of the ARP dollars to create new affordable housing targeted at those making $30,000 per year or less. BREAD recommends dedicating a third of the monies that we received. In addition, please consider investing in repair assistance for smaller landlords who own most of the historically affordable units in Columbus as an essential part of our affordable housing preservation. Direct to landlord assistance is the biggest missing piece that I see on a daily basis, and many smaller landlords are struggling. We don't have a lot of repair assistance for landlords as much as we do for homeowners. Please consider targeting ERA funds for direct rental assistance, mediation services, and legal representation for conditions issues before the eviction is filed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sarah. I can't let this go without letting Councilmember Favor chair. These are the issues that you brought up are issues that this council cares about and are working on, and we would love to continue to work closer with BREAD in particular on some of these issues. But I think tomorrow night's hearing is a good place to start for engagement. But the issues that you brought up are certainly ones that this council is looking for, wants to work on as well. So thank you for your advocacy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. Next speaker to come before council is Nate Wilkins, speaking on ordinance 1155. Mr. Wilkins, welcome back to council.
1612 Arlington Avenue, Mr. Nathaniel George Wilkins. I would just like to know I have several questions. You talk about Linden Healthy Homes, and I would like to have the stats of where these homes are being located at. I believe my knowledge is probably South Linden, and also if we are going to do this, I'd just like to know the numbers, how many of these homes are going up through the Central Ohio area, or if it's just one particular neighborhood. To my knowledge is that I know Cleveland and Chittenden, I believe y'all have built 2 or 3 Linden Healthy Homes in South Linden. I don't see none of these homes idolized for North Linden or other parts of the community in Central Ohio area. So I'd just like to have more clarification how long that this has been put in place, or if this is all over the city of Columbus. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Director, would you have someone from your team follow up, Mr. Wilkins, with those answers, please?
We will. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions or concerns or comments with tonight's consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion for approval of these items designated as consent? Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Mr. Bangston?
Yes, with the exception of ordinances 1384, 1155, 1271-2023, from which I'm abstaining.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Favor?
Yes, with the exception of ordinances 1051, 1383, 756, and 1391, from which I'm abstaining.
Mr. Remy? President Harden?
With the noted exceptions, we'll now proceed with the second reading of 30-day and postponed and emergency legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee, chaired by Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I have 2 items in Public Service and Transportation. Ordinance 1161-2023 to amend the 2022 capital improvement budget to authorize the transfer of funds within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund and Public Service Taxable Bonds Fund to authorize and direct the city auditor to appropriate and transfer funds from the Special Income Tax Fund to the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, to appropriate funds within the Streets and Highways Improvement Non-Bond Fund and OPWC Grants and Loans Fund, to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract with Complete General Construction for the roadway Front Street Marconi Boulevard project, to authorize the expenditure of up to $13,904,226.91 from the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, OPWC Grants and Loans Fund, Streets and Highways Improvement Non-Bond Fund, and Public Service Taxable Bonds Fund for the project, to repay any unused grant funds at the end of the grant period and to declare an emergency. So these are more exciting traffic improvements along downtown that are in line with our Vision Zero strategy. So this will be the conversion of two-way traffic that will help to slow vehicle speeds, along with the reduction that we've already done on downtown streets to 25 miles per hour. These conversions support safer traffic conditions for pedestrians, cyclists, motorists, and scooter and transit users. The project consists of converting, and I believe that we do have a picture to show, converting Front Street from Broad Street to Hickory Street. So this is essentially from Broad in front of City Hall all the way down to Nationwide, and continuing on. Front Street will be a two-way street, and Marconi Boulevard from Broad Street to Spring Street to a two-way street as well. And the intersection at Front and Hickory will be reconfigured. This is also in accordance with helping to ensure that our streets have continuity, because we know that along this corridor there is some confusion for drivers at different points. Both sides of the street will have improvements within the project limits. Enhanced pedestrian crossings will be installed. All traffic signals will be upgraded and more visible. New curbs, sidewalk, street, and pedestrian lighting, landscaping beds, and other work as necessary. And so I also wanted to just share, when we talk about large improvements to some of our city streets like this, which we know that residents continuously want to see. We know where some of the, we have a high crash system, so we know where we need to make some of these improvements. This project is actually a partnership between Ohio Public Works Commission and CODA that also helped with some of the funding. So the city portion is only, is a pretty large portion, but it's part of making this possible in the downtown area. So with that, before I move for passage, I just want to hand it over Assistant Rory McGillis, or Deputy Director Rory McGillis. Is there anything that you would like to add that I may have missed?
Chair Barosa de Padilla, President Harden, members of council, I think you covered everything on the project really, really well. The only other thing I was going to say that we're really excited about is the work that ODOT is also doing in reference to Front Street as well. And so that work combined with what we're doing will really make a huge difference in how Front Street operates in increasing the amount of safety that we'll have on our streets as a result of it being two ways, as a result of gender that reduces the vehicle speeds along those streets as well. So thank you for your support of this.
Absolutely. And we're actually moving quickly with this project, thankfully, because it just is a conversion of the streets and lighting. We're actually starting at the end of this month. May 30th is when we have a notice to proceed. So especially, I know for the folks who in this building, I know that they're looking forward to these changes as we think about folks coming in and out of City Hall, not just for the folks who work here, but all of our residents who come into City Hall as well. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Great. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Ordinance 1227-2023 to appropriate funds within the OPWC Grants and Loans Fund to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into contract with Danbert Electric Corporation for the Signals Summit Street, Warren Street to East 7th Avenue project to authorize the expenditure of up to $4,024,420.65 from the OPWC Grants and Loans Fund and the Street Construction Maintenance and Repair Fund for the project to repay any unused grant funds at the end of the grant period and to declare an emergency. So this project consists of replacing and upgrading to current standards the existing traffic signals along Summit Street from Warren to 7th Avenue. Work also includes curb, ramp, and sidewalk replacement, curb extensions, storm sewer installation, traffic control, both signage and striping, water line and hydrant work, pavement refacing and resurfacing, and electric and lighting relocations. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. May I move to Neighborhoods, Immigrant, Migrant, Refugee Affairs?
Yes, ma'am.
Ordinance 1161-2023 to authorize the city clerk to enter into a grant agreement with Artway Incorporated to serve as a fiscal agent in support of the Sounds from the Living Room event, and to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within Job Growth Subfund and to declare an emergency. The Sounds from the Living Room will bring together members of the Southside community in Columbus to create a safe and inclusive space for attendees to enjoy live music and connect with neighbors. Councilmember Bangston, I would like to hand over the floor to you as the sponsor of this project.
Thank you, Councilmember Barosa de Padilla, for your partnership on this. We at council, I think, understand the value of artistic expression and how powerful of a connector music can be for those in our community. That said, what has excited me most about this event proposal was its intentionality in supporting residents of the south side of Columbus. So more than just music, really about community and bringing folks together. The event, in addition to the musical component, will have a community day portion where Southside residents will have the opportunity to acquire school supplies, hygiene products, and much more. And here tonight in council chambers to provide more details about the goals of the event is Mr. Christopher Scott and the rest of the South High hospitality team. If they would come up at this time. And I just want to, again, just underscore, I think as we come out and continue to recover as a community, a big piece of what was also lost was connection and being intentional about how do we connect with neighbors. I truly believe that the things that we see in our communities when we talk about violence and we talk about these other things, part of it is because we don't know each other. We're not in relationship with each other anymore. And so to have opportunities like this where we can, one, have exposure to a different kind of music. I love music, and so being exposed to different genres is always a great thing, but also be exposed to each other again and having the opportunity to connect. So I want to thank Christopher for his vision and want to turn the podium over to him and his team.
Thank you, Council President Harden, as well as Councilor Member Nick Bankston. Today, I stand before you to express our utmost gratitude and appreciation to the Columbus City Council with a special acknowledgement to Council Members Nick Bankston and Lourdes Barroso de Padilla. Their unwavering support and generosity have played a pivotal role in the success and the growth of Sounds from the Living Room, an event series in Columbus, Ohio. Sounds from the Living Room is a celebration of house music that transcends boundaries, providing attendees with a transformative sensory journey. It is a testament to the power of music and the sense of a community it fosters. With the partnership of Justin McAllister of Ford Upholstering and John Malley of The Stable, we're excited to create a Southside Community Day on August 9th, preparing children for the upcoming school year. As we understand the financial challenges involved in getting kids back to school ready, we want to alleviate some of those burdens by providing free haircuts to children. In addition to the free haircuts, we are distributing backpacks filled with essential school supplies, including feminine care products, thankfully to Aunt Flo. Our goal is to ensure that every child in the community has the necessary tools to start the year off right. Furthermore, we are proud to partner with local food banks to provide groceries to families in need. By offering this support, we hope to create a stronger and more resilient community. Today, we express our deepest appreciation to Columbus City Council for recognizing the value of cultural experiences and community engagement. Their belief in our vision has not only provided us with the means to bring this event to life, but has also instilled in us a renewed sense of purpose and determination to create something truly remarkable. Together, let us celebrate the power of music, the beauty of diversity, and the strength of our community. Thank you.
Do any of my other colleagues have any comments or questions? Thank you again for your vision around this, and particularly, I think, again, for centering it in community. Really looking forward to it. I know this takes place in District 7, but hopefully I'm allowed to stop over if that's okay with you.
I'm District 8. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, District 8. I'm sorry, District 7. It's split. It's a split district, okay? So over my South Side council members, hopefully you let me come over and enjoy with you. I will kick it back over to Councilmember Barroso de Padilla.
I was just going to say, if we do what we always have done, we're always going to get what we've always got. And so I think that we need to start thinking creatively and outside the box about how do we bring more people in, and how do we, and I think Councilmember Bankston, to the points that you were making before about how do we get to know our neighbors again, how do we get to know people again, how do we become reconnected, it is through sharing food, it is through sharing music, it is through art. I mean, it transcends age and race and culture, and this is something that everyone can find themselves in. And so I think that when we start thinking outside the box about how we rebuild community and how we bring people together, I know that I speak for this council when I say that's always something that we're invested in, because we know that the benefits from that are priceless. And so we just want to thank you for your creativity. Thank you for all that you do in the community and all that you do for arts in the community, and how you think outside the box and bring more people in. So with that, I would like to move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, President Harden.
Of ordinance 1127.
It's
Or
1290.
1290, sorry, my bad.
Yes, thank you.
Passed.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's all for my committees this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee come before council. Can you do it?
It's up to you, Council President.
Let's go for it. Yes, sir. Next committee to come before council is the Recreation and Parks Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Brown. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I have two partner ordinances in Recreation and Parks, second reading this evening, 1127 and 1128, 2023, that relate to the implementation of the 2023 Neighborhood Violence Intervention Program. The contracts in question aim to provide violence interruption and crisis response activities that work to mediate and diffuse conflict tensions and actively promote peace building among our youth. Before I read the titles of the ordinances, allow me to first invite Director Reese to provide some background information on these two pieces of legislation, including the bid waiver request.
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Brown, council members. This contract actually set within the Community Recreation and Parks Department for a number of years. Last year, it moved to Public Safety. This year, we are bringing it back to Recreation and Parks. This is Urban League Community New Direction, which is known as CND. CND is working in schools, but we are also in collaboration with Public Safety as they are working with the CVR program. So we have interventionists from Urban League and CND working with Public Safety as well as with Recreation and Parks. And so they are in the schools, they are also at special events. They're also on site doing a lot of the trauma and things that are taking place throughout the city. And that gives just a little background. So we are looking forward to getting this contract started as soon as possible. And so we met today. And I think we are on a good start as far as making sure everything aligns with the contract that we're currently looking at seeking. So we're asking for your approval, City Council. Thank you, Chair Brown.
Thank you, Director Reese. Are there any questions from my colleagues? If not, I will now read the legislation to order here. Ordinance 1127 to authorize the Director of the Department of Recreation and Parks to enter into a contract with Columbus Urban League for services related to the implementation of the 2023 Neighborhood Violence Intervention Program, to authorize the transfer and appropriation of $859,000 from the general fund to the Recreation and Parks Operating Fund, to authorize the expenditure of $429,500 from the Recreation and Parks Operating Fund, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code, and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions, I move for passage and I ask for a voice vote.
Before that, Councilmember, thank you, Mr. Chair, for bringing this forward. Just want to, tomorrow, the city will be talking about summer safety. I think Councilmember Bankston brought this up, and we'll be talking about the resources for new that we will send out to the community partners that will work to keep our communities safe. This is what we are passing tonight is on top of that funding, and so these are the initiatives. These are the people that have been doing the work for years to keep our communities safe. So I just wanted to acknowledge that we've been doing the work. It's a lot of work. It doesn't happen quickly, but on top of this tonight, tomorrow we will talk about additional efforts that the City of Columbus will work with our community partners on in keeping our community safe. So I just wanted to acknowledge that this is another $1 million on top of
That is absolutely correct, Council President. Thank you. Councilmember Remy, did you have anything you wish to add, sir?
No, this is just part of our ongoing efforts to provide preventative opportunities for our youth and others to, avoid getting in situations where there's nothing to do in the community. And so we're looking at every facet, every opportunity to lift up this type of programming and this type of work in our community. I want to thank the director for being a part of that. And this is an overall strategy for our group violence intervention. So thank you so much for bringing it forward.
Yep. Thank you, Council President.
There was a second, so clerk will call the roll.
Thank you.
Mr. Bankston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans? Ms. Faber? Mr. Remy? President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Also, I have ordinance 1128, the companion piece, 2023, to authorize the Director of the Department of Recreation and Parks to enter a contract with the community for New Direction for services related to the implementation of the 2023 Neighborhood Violence Intervention Program, to authorize the expenditure in an amount not to exceed $429,500 from the Recreation and Parks Operating Fund, 2285 to waive the competitive bidding provisions and permitted under Columbus City Code, Section 32.915, and to declare an emergency. Again, I move for passage, and I ask for a voice vote.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Council President, with your approval, may I move on to a piece of legislation on page 5?
Sure.
Legislation is to authorize legislation 1211-2023 to authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to execute and acknowledge any documents as approved by the Department of Law, Real Estate Division necessary to grant the Ohio Power Company an electric utility easement to burden a portion of the city's real property at 1300 East Windsor Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. The department is working diligently to prepare our recreation centers and parks and pools for the summer months. This legislation is a critical piece in aiding the completion of the Windsor Pool. I have Director Reese here again to speak to the background on this particular ordinance. Director Reese?
Thank you, President Harden, Chair Brown. Chair Brown pretty much stated what it is, and that is just to provide electrical for the Windsor Pool. As you all know, that is a new constructed pool that we look to open up this June. We're excited about it, and so they have to actually construct an easement going through the neighborhood from the center over to the pool area, and that is something that they needed approval for, and we are asking your approval from City Council. Thank you, Chair Brown.
Director Reese, quickly, how many pools are going to be open this summer and when?
Sir, we look to open all 8 pools. We have 3 pools opening up on Memorial Day, and that is Dodge, Lincoln, Driving Park. And then the other 5 will open up June 10th.
Thank you. And is it true that Director Remy put in to be a lifeguard?
We're still researching that project there.
Okay,
Chair
just checking. I heard
Yes,
that
sir.
as a rumor. Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. I move to waive second reading.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston? Yes. Ms. Barosa, yes? Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Yes. Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans? Yes. Ms. Favor? Mr. Remy? Yes. President Harden?
Yes, it is moved, removed.
And now I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Mr. Brown?
Just give me one.
Yes.
Mr. Dorans? Yes. Ms. Favor? Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes. Is there a motion to reconsider? Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans? Yes. Ms. Favor? Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes. One second.
What did you do? I know. One week? Okay. Do we need? Reintroduce it.
Chair.
Council President, if I may I reintroduce for first reading ordinance 111, 2023. Thank you.
So is there a motion to reconsider ordinance 1211, 2023? Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans? Ms. Faber? Mr. Remy? President Harden?
Yes.
And now, Council President, I would move to waive second reading.
On ordinance 1211. Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans? Ms. Faber? Mr. Remy? President Harden?
Yes. Removed.
Now I move for passage, and I ask for a voice vote.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Dorans? Ms. Faber? Mr. Remy? President Harden?
Yes. Ordinance is passed. Sorry about that, guys. Is there a motion to recess? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, President Harden.
Be in recess. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal?
So moved. Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Dorans chairs that committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before we begin tonight's zoning agenda, first a little bit of housekeeping. Will the clerk please read the numbers of Legislation and Zoning Committee this evening?
1298, 1304, 1308, 1331, 0841, 1180, 1263, 1265, 1266, 1268, 1305, 1309, 1312, 1332-2023.
Thank you, Clerk. I now move to waive the second reading of those.
Mr. Bangston,
Yes, with the exception of ordinance 1265-2023, from which I'm abstaining.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla, Mr. Brown.
Thank you. We will only hear a staff presentation for ordinances that have a disapproval from a recommending body, or if we have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. We have received 0 public speaker slips this evening. Speakers on council variances, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of the area commission and applicants are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to fill out a public speaker slip. On the advice of the city attorney's office, I will now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, that you shall answer the pains or penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Tim Dietrich from the Department of Building and Zoning Services and Dan Bleshman from the Department of Public Service have been sworn in. First, we have ordinance 1267-2023 to rezone 3573 Agler Road, being 28.35 plus acres located on the south side of Agler Road, 875 plus feet west of Seltzer Road from LM Limited Manufacturing District. The LM Limited Manufacturing District, the applicant is Keith Massa, Schottenstein Property Group, care of David Hodge Attorney. Proposed use of limited manufacturing commercial development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Development Commission's recommendation is approval. Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1298-2023 to rezone 983 East Main Street, being 0.23 plus acres located on the south side of East Main Street, 75 plus feet east of Gilbert Street from CPD Commercial Plan Development District to CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The applicant is Andrew Vogel. The proposed use is automobile sales. City Department recommendation is approval. The Development Commission's recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1304-2023 to rezone 5142 Central College Road, being 10.0 plus acres located on the north side of Central College Road, 440 plus feet east of Course Drive from R Rural District to LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. And the applicant is David Ruma, care of Michael Shannon Attorney. Proposed use of a multi-unit residential development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Development Commission's recommendation is approval. The Rocky Fork Blacklick Accord Implementation Panel's recommendation is also approval. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1308-2023 to rezone 795 Galloway Road, being 36.4 plus acres located in the northwest corner of Galloway Road and Hall Road from R Rural District to LR1 Limited Apartment Residential District and CPD Commercial Plan Development District. The applicant is Metro Development, LLC, care of Jeffrey Brown Attorney. Proposed use is mixed-use development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Development Commission recommendation is approval. Westland Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. Do I have my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 1331-2023 to rezone 1264 East Main Street, being 0.09 plus acres located in the northwest corner of East Main Street and Linwood Avenue from C4 Commercial District to ARO Apartment Office District. The applicant is Josiah Kai. The proposed use is multi-unit residential development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Development Commission's recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we will move into the council variances portion of the agenda. First, we have ordinance 0841-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District, the Columbus City Codes, for the property located at 709-715 Miller Avenue to conform an existing 4-unit dwelling in the R3 Residential District. The applicant is Justin Fry. Proposed use is to conform existing 4-unit dwelling. City's Department recommendation is approval. The Livingston Avenue Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Yep.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 1180-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3355.03 C3 permitted use of the Columbus City Codes to the property located at 1289 East Dublin Granville Road to permit a residential care facility in the C3 commercial district. The applicant is Pumzika LLC. Proposed use of a residential care facility. City's Department recommendation is approval. Northland Community Council's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1263-2023 to grant a variance provisions of sections 3332.38H, private garages, 3332.38G, private garage at the Columbus City Codes, a property located at 637 South 3rd Street to permit a habitable space above a detached garage with increased height in the R2F residential district. The applicant is David Hodge, Underhill and Hodge. Proposed use of a habitable space above a detached garage. The City's Department recommendation is approval. The German Village Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
I next move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
No, amended.
Amended. There we go.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1265-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 residential districts, 3332.05 A4 area district lot with requirements, 3332.13 R3 area district lot with requirements, and 3312.49 C minimum number of parking spaces required of the Columbus City Codes, the property located at 1230 East 17th Avenue to permit a 2-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the R3 residential district. The applicant is Healthy Linden Homes, care of Emily Rayfield. Proposed use of a 2-unit dwelling. City's Department recommendation is approval. South Linden Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit by voice.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston.
Abstain.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla. Mr. Brown. Mr. Dorans.
Yes.
Ms. Favor. Mr. Remy. President Harden.
Yes, accept it.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council by voice.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston. Ms. Barosa de Padilla. Mr. Brown. Mr. Dorans.
Yes.
Ms. Favor. Mr. Remy. President Harden.
Yes, accept it.
Thank you. And finally, move for passage by voice.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston. Ms. Barosa de Padilla. Mr. Brown. Mr. Dorans.
Yes.
Ms. Favor. Mr. Remy. President Harden.
Yes, passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1266-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3356.03 C4 permitted uses, 3312.49 minimum number of parking spaces required. The Columbus City Codes, the property located at 992-994 South Wall Street to conform an existing 2-unit dwelling with reduced parking in the C4 commercial district. The applicant is Tyler Thompson. Proposed use is to conform an existing 2-unit dwelling. City's Department recommendation is approval. The Brewery District Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accepted.
I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you, and finally move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1268-2023 to grant a variance to provisions of section 3312.03D, administrative requirements 3312.25, maneuvering 3312.29, parking space 3312.49C, minimum number of parking spaces required, and 3312.51, loading space of the Columbus City Code, so property located at 3573 Agler Road to permit a reduced development standards for an industrial development in the LM Limited Manufacturing District. The applicant is Keith Massa, Schottenstein Property Group, care of David Hodge Attorney. Proposed use of limited manufacturing and commercial development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1305-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3309.14 height districts, 3312.25 maneuvering, 3312.29 parking spaces, 3312.49 minimum number of parking spaces required, 3333.12 AR1, AR4 area district requirements, 3333.255 perimeter yard of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 5142 Central College Road to permit reduced development standards for a multi-unit residential development in the LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. The applicant is David Ruma, care of Michael Shannon Attorney. Proposed use of a multi-unit residential development. City's Department recommendation is approval. The Rocky Fork Black Lake Accord Implementation Panel is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Next, we have ordinance 1309-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3333.02, AR12, ARLD, and AR1 apartment residential district use for 3312.21B3, landscaping and screening, 3333.18, building lines, 3333.255, perimeter yard, and 3333.35G, private garage at the Columbus City Codes for property located at 795 Galloway Road to permit commercial access and reduce development standards in the LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Metro Development LLC, care of Jeffrey Brown Attorney. Proposed use of mixed unit development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Westland Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. I next move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Amended.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1312-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.03 R1 Residential District, 3312.27 parking setback line, and 3332.27 rear yard for the property located at 1244 Manor Drive to permit a two-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the R1 Residential District. The applicant is Cephas Pearson, care of Brenda Parker, attorney. The proposed use is a two-unit dwelling. City's Department recommendation is approval. Far East Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Next, move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. And finally, we have ordinance 1332-2023 to grant a variance provisions of section 3312.49C, minimum number of parking spaces required, 3321.05A1 and B2, vision clearance, 3321.07B, landscaping, 3333.15, basis of computing area, 3333.18, building lines, 3333.23, minimum side yard permitted, 3333.24, rear yard of the Columbus City Coast, the property located at 1264 East Main Street to permit a reduced development standards for a residential development in the ARO Apartment Office District. The applicant is Jianxi Cao. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. City's department recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. And with that, that is all we have on the zoning agenda tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing no further business come for the zoning committee, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. 24. Is there a motion to reconvene meeting number 24? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
We are now at the Public Utilities Committee. Council President Pro Tem Dorans chairs that. President Dorans chairs that. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I'm back. First tonight in the Public Utilities Committee, we have ordinance 1131-2023 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract / purchase agreement with the Jack Downey Company's Southeast Equipment and Friday Freightliner for the purchase of a combination vacuum truck and articulating loader and a dump truck with plow for Department of Public Utilities to amend the 2022 capital improvement budget to authorize the transfer of cash and appropriation within the Sanitary General Obligation Bond Fund to authorize expenditure of up to $1,310,994.32 from the Sanitary General Obligation Fund to pay for the equipment and declare an emergency. The dump truck funded by this ordinance will be used by the operators of the Sewer Maintenance Operations Center to haul supplies to job sites for repairs, as well as hauling waste from job sites to approved dumping areas. The truck will have tow ladders, which carry excavating equipment, and will also have a snow plow equipped, which can be used to assist with street maintenance during snow removal. Emergency action is requested to finalize the contract for these vehicles as soon as possible because of the current volatile pricing environment and long lead time for vehicle purchases. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 1182-2023 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to pay the State of Ohio Treasurer, Department of Natural Resources for the operation and maintenance services and water entitlement costs for withdrawing water from the Allen Creek Reservoir for the Division of Water to authorize expenditure of $1,387,361.59 in the Water Operating Fund and declare an emergency. The City of Columbus has an agreement with the State of Ohio Department of Natural Resources allowing our Division of Water to withdraw water from the Allen Creek Reservoir. This agreement was entered into by the authority of Ordinance 1663-71, as you might imagine, passed in 1971. This annual payment is needed to keep this agreement in effect. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And finally, we have ordinance 1222-2023 to authorize an amendment to the 2022 capital improvement budget to authorize the transfer of cash within the Sanitary General Obligation Bond Fund to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into a contract modification with Prime AE Group for intermodal sanitary subtrunk extension project to expend up to $1,065,568.19 from the Sanitary General Obligation Fund to pay for the project and declare an emergency. This project will provide the city's sanitary sewer service to a quickly developing area of Columbus. It will also increase the water quality by eliminating potential groundwater pollution by preventing the installation of package treatment systems. In addition, the project has economic benefits by increasing the sewer revenues, creating additional industrial and commercial development within this area. Emergency designation is requested for this ordinance. Funds on the original contract are depleting, and a lot of engineering services will be needed early in the construction phase of this project. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. All I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee coming for council, my bad, is the Public Safety Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President. I have two ordinances tonight in public safety. First ordinance is 587-2023 to authorize the Director of Department of Public Safety to enter into a grant agreement with the Short North Alliance and Capital Crossroads Special Improvement District for the purposes of administering the Business District Safety Enhancements Program to authorize the transfer of $500,000 within the general fund from the Department of Finance to the Department of Public Safety to authorize the expenditure of $500,000 from the general fund and to declare an emergency. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, the City of Columbus experienced a significant uptick in violent crime throughout this community. notably in densely populated and visited business districts. In 2022, the City of Columbus funded the Business District Safety Enhancement Program, which resulted in a significant reduction of crime. There is a need for a continuation of this funding from the City of Columbus to supplement safety enhancements in business districts throughout the City of Columbus. These organizations will utilize the funding in support of their violent crime interdiction programs, which utilize law enforcement personnel serving in a special duty capacity, educational campaigns and community outreach workers in an effort to prevent and address violent crime in their respective districts. This neighborhood safety program is part of a much larger community investment strategy employed by the City of Columbus to provide safe and resilient communities. The City of Columbus has utilized a community-wide approach under a number of assistance programs, including summer youth safety programming in the amount of $16 million in 2022, as well as numerous neighborhood safety grants. The city will make additional neighborhood safety investments in subsequent ordinances. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage by voice.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Mr. Bangston? Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Mr. Brown? Mr. Dorans? Ms. Favor? Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Next, I have ordinance 1158, 2023, to authorize the Director of Public Safety on behalf of the Division of Fire to enter into a contract with Emergency Networking for application services for the REACT program, to authorize the expenditure of $60,000 from the General Government Grants Fund, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the City Code, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the Director of Public Safety, Division of Fire, to enter into a contract agreement with Emergency Networking, who provides application programming services associated with the city's rapid response emergency addiction crisis team. Emergency Networking is a digital software company that builds platforms for first responders and community paramedic needs. Emergency Networking designed and developed a program tailored client management system for REACT to collect highly detailed data and perform aggregate data analysis. REACT is an innovative outreach service operated by the Division of Fire to actively address the opioid crisis in Columbus. REACT outreach includes firefighters, paramedics, crisis intervention team, certified peace officers, a substance use case manager, a registered nurse, a family case manager, and a trauma specialist. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden?
Pass.
And that is all that I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The final committee to come before council is the Finance Committee, which I chair. I have ordinance 1110-2023 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to renew and modify a contract with Barclay Water Management, Inc. for treatment and remediation of water systems under the purview of the Facilities Management Division, and to authorize the expenditure of $231,741.67 within the general fund to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Code and to declare an emergency. Director, anything to add on that?
President Harden, President Pro Tem Dorans, members of council, this is just an ordinance seeking authority to continue with water cleanliness and decontamination practices here on City Hall campus.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments on this ordinance? Seeing none, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden?
Passed. The next ordinance to come for council is 1258-2023. It's to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management on behalf of the Facilities Management Division to renew a contract with CBRE Government Services, LLC, for facility management services at the Franklin County Municipal Court Building, to authorize the transfer of $15,000 within the general fund, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,633,828 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. You get anything to add there? All right. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, President Harden?
Passed. Finally, we have ordinance 1319-2023 is to authorize the Director of the Department of Finance and Management to enter into a contract with the Franklin County Public Defender Commission to provide legal counsel to indigent persons charged with criminal offenses, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,006,995 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. Anything to add there? All right. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed. Seeing no further business coming for council, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Council is adjourned. We have several non-agenda speakers that we